Tonight, a scathing report over how officials responded to Cyclone Gabrielle.
The National Emergency Management System is not currently fit for purpose.
And it doesn't stop there. Find out what needs to happen next and who did do well according to the review. We're live from Hawke's Bay with the details. With the victims killed during a mass brawl in Gisborne known to many locals, how the community is being supported. Plus, extra cash is on the way to help cover early childhood fees. How much will parents get and who's eligible? Tēnā koutou katoa, good evening. A damning independent review into the response to Cyclone Gabrielle in Hawke's Bay has found officials were overwhelmed. Headed by former Police Commissioner Mike Bush, the findings were released today, saying the National Emergency Management System isn't currently fit for purpose. The report praised local communities, iwi and volunteers, calling them heroic, but has criticised civil defence for not utilising them properly. While it acknowledges efforts were hampered by communication networks across the region being knocked out by the storm, the report says the overall response lacked situational awareness about much of the damage until it was too late. With more frequent and severe weather events expected, a complete reset of the current response model has been recommended, with a warning to do so properly will cost. Kate Nichol-Williams is standing by in Esk Valley, where she's been gauging local reaction to the findings. First, her report.
When Cyclone Gabrielle struck, communities became isolated as bridges gave way and power and communications were lost. In Hawke's Bay alone, 8 people died.
The severity, speed and scale of this disaster quite simply overwhelmed the officials involved in that response.
An independent review into the region's emergency management response has found action was often chaotic and lacked strategy. While there were solid plans, they lacked the detail required, and with limited situational awareness, staff struggled to coordinate.
That was compounded by communications outages, power outages, but there should be mitigations in place for such things.
We didn't get any information from text messages or anything like that. I heard a noise and there was water coming up through the plug holes in the toilet as well.
The 5 local councils have accepted the findings and say work is already underway to improve their performance.
We did our very, very best to ensure that we kept our communities informed and knowing what was happening out there.
Cyclone Gabrielle was the 3rd event in New Zealand's history to be declared a national state of emergency after COVID-19 and the Christchurch earthquake. That means councils can access more resources and expertise, but the review found the National Emergency Management System is not fit for purpose, with councils not equipped to lead.
He sets up good people to fail.
I don't think we would have had a review if we were happy with everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've had a review, so.
The report makes 9 major recommendations, including overhauling the current civil defence and emergency management system, creating disaster reduction and readiness plans, more adequately training staff so they're capable, and better funding the response and making sure communication is timely. This Esk Valley resident is not surprised by the report's findings and says more than a year on, key information is still missing.
I won't believe anything until I see their plan of when we should evacuate.
Locals still feeling unsure of how safe they'll be next time. Council's calling on the government to come to the party and help them put the recommendations in place.
Okay, Kate, for everyone involved, there's a lot to digest in that report. What's the next step?
There's a lot more to come, Melissa. Tomorrow the government is releasing an inquiry that was commissioned into both Cyclone Hale in the North Island as well as Cyclone Gabrielle. In response to that, this afternoon, Prime Minister Christopher Luxon said that the government will digest the information from both reports and that his government is up for making more investment if it is required. Now, the 117-page release today said that Civil Defence, they were overconfident. They were not planning for the worst case scenario of Cyclone Gabrielle. For example, when iwi got in touch concerned about rising river levels, they said that they were overreacting. In terms of locals on the ground, there is hope that despite previous flood events where similar recommendations were made, that this will be the one where there is a lasting difference. In terms of what happened, there have been many questions from locals about why evacuation orders weren't made earlier. They've been looking for a public apology from leaders from those councils, as well as some accountability. Today, those leaders did not deliver that. They focused on the future. They talked about the lessons they have learnt, but they did not utter the words about making mistakes. They have significant challenges ahead of them. Of course, with climate change, they need a lot more investment for their infrastructure, and now they're asking the government for more money for these civil defence changes. The report also pointed out the issues that they have when it came to civil defence staffing. It said that many were traumatised by what occurred and have resigned, and now they cannot deal with finding more staff for this situation.
Tēnā koe, Kate. Thank you. Police say they've identified more than 40 witnesses who were at a 21st birthday party in Gisborne where 2 men were killed during a mass brawl. Investigators are urging people with any video or photos to come forward. Henry McMullen reports.
Police remain on this Gisborne street where a 21st birthday descended into a fatal brawl. Neighbours still coming to grips with the violence.
I got a message to say that people were being stabbed down the road, and that was about 1:20 in the morning.
2 people were killed and 3 were left seriously injured, some of the victims known in this small community.
The one that got stabbed is a good friend of my grandson, so he's up here from Hawke's Bay.
Police say it's a complex investigation with around 100 people at the scene at the time.
I was at a large party, it was at night, people have been drinking.
3 of the injured are still in hospital and 1 man has been arrested. The 29-year-old male was due to appear in court today on charges of wounding with intent to cause grievous bodily harm, but the hearing was cancelled by consent. He's now been remanded in custody until his next hearing in 3 weeks' time.
It is still early stages of the inquiry, so there's likelihood of being further charges.
The local hapu reminding those affected their doors are always open for support.
We're here. We're here at Pohorawiri. If there is anything we can possibly do.
Details of the victims have not yet been officially released in line with the whānau's wishes.
We're just respecting their right to be a part of releasing details about their loved ones. That's something that we want to respect, and we hope that the public respect too.
They all know one another on the street, so I think once everything's all over, we'll be able to go down and see the family down there.
A tragic end to what should have been a night of celebration. Henry McMullen, One News.
Henry is in Gisborne again for us tonight. Kia ora, Henry. There are lots of extra police in the city and understand now that they're set to stay longer. What can you tell us about that?
Kia ora, that's right. Well, we've just been at the police press conference where they reiterated that safety message for the long weekend. They have extra personnel and they are staying throughout Easter weekend. Now, you have to remember Gisborne is a small town and everybody does know everybody. And I've just been actually speaking to one of the family members of the victim. She expressed her complete heartbreak and hopes that the family can now grieve in private. Speaking to many people on the street today, that was pretty much the message throughout the community. Everyone is shocked it's what's happened, but hope and send all their love to everyone involved.
Ngā mihi. Thanks very much, Henry. Police say a member of the community has come forward with information relating to the case of 2 Lower Hutt children who were hospitalised with what were described as deliberate and horrific injuries sustained over a long period of time. One had a brain bleed and both had extensive bruising when admitted earlier this month after an emergency call from a Stokes Valley address. The 4- and 5-year-old have since been discharged. Despite the new information, police are still asking anyone who knows anything to come forward. More money is on the way for parents to help with early childhood fees. The government today announcing its Family Boost payment scheme, which could see some families up to $75 better off each week. But Labor says it doesn't go far enough. Political editor Mikey Sherman has more details and reaction.
Do you want to put your hat on? It's pick-up time at this early childhood centre in Wellington as parents react to the news more help is on the way to ease their finances.
See ya. Bye. Bye, guys. It's not a bad thing, I guess. It's cost of living crisis, it's really expensive childcare, so I welcome it, really.
Christopher Luxon and his Finance Minister outlining the plan.
Childcare costs here in New Zealand are among the highest in the world.
Here's how it works. All families earning up to $180,000 are eligible for the rebate. Those earning less than $140,000 can claim up to $75 a week. But the rebate decreases for higher earners. So those earning between $170,000 and $180,000 are only eligible for a maximum $18.75.
Under 140k for your family, it's a solid little chunk of basically, I guess, a bit less than a third for us, so I welcome it, yeah.
Realistically, that money, $75 a week, is just going to be going back into our groceries and power bills.
In 2022, around 181,000 children attended ECE in New Zealand. It's estimated 100,000 families will get a piece of today's policy pie, but only a smaller number will get the full amount.
It is 21,000 who would qualify for the full $975 every 3 months. And the reason for that is that there are families who don't pay $300 a week in fees and so wouldn't be eligible to make the full claim.
National proposed the policy last year as part of the election.
That looks good. Looks good on you.
An alternative to Labour's plan of extending 20 hours free ECE to 2-year-olds.
It was coming in March. It would have given families up to $130 a week savings for them.
The hourly rate that Labour were talking about in regards to reducing cost on families would have gone a lot further than what $75 a week would. While it is a help.
The great thing about this policy is parents don't have to worry about a middleman. This cash goes straight into your bank account.
That promise, though, will be a lot harder than it sounds for some.
We'll bring in Mikey from Parliament. Kia ora, Mikey. Will there be difficulties with this payment?
Kia ora rā tātou I tēnei pō. Well, look, while the government will be celebrating today's announcement and families up and down the country will welcome any ounce of extra support, this policy, it will be a logistical nightmare, a red tape rigmarole. The National Party originally wanted the IRD to pay families direct every fortnight, but when it came into office, it was told by the IRD that was simply not possible because it did not have the system capability and it would take 2 to 3 years to get that system up and running. So now the onus, the responsibility, it falls back onto parents. They will need to gather 3 months worth of invoices from their early childhood centres. They will then need to file those invoices with the IRD, and Nicola Willis has been told that some families simply will not take up the option of this payment because of that administrative challenge. So that will need to be a big focus area of the government if they want people to make the most of this money. In terms of the money, the cost of this policy is set to be around $723 million over the next 4 years. That is around $244 million less than what National predicted it would be on the campaign trail. Now, on the one hand, you could say, that's nice that the policy will cost less, but on the other hand, some may say, they wonder whether National's numbers were in fact rock solid.
Tēnei te mihi atu. Thank you very much. Political editor Mikey Sherman. Breakfast will be speaking with Prime Minister Christopher Luxon about some of those concerns. That's from 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. The 4 men Russia's charged with a terror attack on a Moscow concert hall have appeared in court. 3 of them pleading guilty. The 4th barely conscious amid reports of torture. As the death toll rises to 137, there's mounting evidence in opposition against Vladimir Putin's claim Ukraine is to blame. Kim Baker-Wilson reports.
There is symbolism in this silence. A show of solidarity while Russia's reeling. Symbolism here too, as arrested suspects are dragged in by authorities. The Kremlin keen to show Russia it's in control. Then the blindfolds and handcuffs came off, and 4 men from Tajikistan were in court. Charged with committing a terrorist attack, they were bruised, cut and weary. 1 in a wheelchair straight from hospital. 7 others are also detained. Vladimir Putin claims they were captured as they fled for Ukraine. And since launching waves of attacks on Kyiv and Lviv. Part of a Russian cruise missile found here in a park. But Putin's apparent bid to give his people easy answers by blaming Ukraine is a hard sell. ISIS releasing a video of the attack, which appears to back their claim they did it. The US warned almost 3 weeks ago of imminent plans to target large gatherings in Moscow.
Vladimir Putin is already trying to link this to Ukraine and say that Ukraine is responsible. Does the US have any evidence to back that up?
No, there is no whatsoever any evidence, and in fact what we know to be the case is that ISIS-K is actually, by all accounts, responsible for what happened.
Back in Moscow, soft toys mark the hard reality that children are among the dead. A mountain of flowers and candles and a mix of grief and anger.
It's horrific and a big tragedy.
The immense tragedy could get worse with fears more bodies will be found. Russia has been in a national day of mourning. There could be more grieving to come. Kim Baker-Wilson, One News.
The racing might have been thrilling on the water, but behind the scenes, Christchurch's Sail GP event is seemingly capsized. The Prime Minister this afternoon saying there's more work to do around making sure there aren't barriers to hosting major events here in the future. Katie Stevenson reports.
A drama-filled weekend on and off the water, being hailed a success by Christchurch officials.
We were absolutely delighted with the end result of Sail GP. Sunday was amazing, and of course Saturday was disappointing, but we had so many people in town.
But Sail GP Chief Executive Sir Russell Cootes told One News on Friday the event was unlikely to be held in Christchurch again, going on to cast doubt on ever returning to Aotearoa again after a dolphin sighting cancelled racing on Saturday.
I've had a lot of feedback overnight. I think you can guess what the response has been. This probably won't only affect Christchurch, it may affect future events in New Zealand.
Sailors still keen to see the event here.
I just think it's crazy. We've got the best home fans in the world. Just seeing how many people came down here to cheer us on. We're doing everything we can to get an event back in New Zealand for sure.
I think the country needs to sort something out to get sport events like this happening on our home turf.
The Prime Minister today saying there are too many obstacles to attract world-class events.
My personal view is way too much red tape, obstruction economy, everything's slowed up, and as a result that doesn't make us a great place if you want to run a global event.
Christchurch NZ says it remains open to hosting.
We're looking forward to entering into discussions with Sail GP about Season 5. We are in contract to host Season 5, but it's really important that the whole city, all of our partners and Sail GP are all behind hosting the event in the city.
Those in Littleton today had mixed opinions.
I don't think Sail GP was a massive pull for businesses.
I think that's a beautiful message to go out to the world that we're taking care of our dolphins.
It's a good event. It's good for the city and also it's very good for the harbour.
Its future, though, will require calming the waters if it's to return. Katie Stevenson, One News.
Miriakine coming up, Donald Trump has officially run out of time as his $750 million legal deadline hits. Next, the famous properties in the crosshairs for court seizure. Hoki mai anō, welcome back. It's deadline time for Donald Trump to post a $750 million bond after a New York State civil fraud ruling. It's unclear whether Trump has found the cash, but if he hasn't, moves will be made to seize his assets. What he actually owns may surprise you, as US correspondent Logan Church explains.
Time is up for Donald Trump after a judge ruled he committed widespread business fraud. If he hasn't found the cash, then New York's legal chief will start going after his empire.
If he does not have funds to pay off the judgment, then we will seek, judgment enforcement mechanisms in court.
But what does he actually own? Well, most of it is tied up in real estate. Trump Tower is arguably the seat of Trump power. It dominates one of the most expensive parts of New York's Midtown, and it's where he came down that escalator and straight into his first term as president. He doesn't own the entire building, he owns office and retail space as well as his penthouse. Now, if you head straight across Central Park, you get to Trump International Hotel. Even though his names are in big letters out the front, he doesn't actually own all of it. Instead, he owns the garage, some retail space, and some apartments. And down in New York's financial district, the Trump building on Wall Street. Again, though, he doesn't own it, a German family does, he just owns the ground lease. Trump has interests in 10 New York City properties in total, estimated by Forbes to be worth more than $1.5 billion. Then there are his golf courses outside of the city, as well as properties in other states like his Florida Mar-a-Lago estate. It's hard to calculate his net worth as Trump likes to exaggerate. For instance, he said his Trump Tower penthouse started on the 68th floor and went up 3 stories. Quite incredible, considering the building is only 58 floors high. New York and Donald Trump have a messy relationship.
I actually think it's a distraction for our country.
We think he ought to go to jail. We think he would be a horrible next president.
He is our only solution.
Whether he solved his own most pressing issue will only be clear tomorrow. Logan Church, One News, New York.
To our biggest city, and one of the most controversial parts of a proposal for Auckland's future is a plan to lease out the port. Now, a report on the economic viability of it is with the Mayor's office, but is yet to be made public, despite consultation on the long-term plan closing in 4 days. Here's Katie Bradford.
Did you know the Port of Auckland only returns just over 2% a year to Aucklanders?
Auckland's mayor has been out selling his vision for the super city's future. Wayne Brown wants to create a $3 to $4 billion war chest, a future fund, with money from leasing the port and selling Auckland Airport shares. 2 different groups are publicly opposing the port plan.
Essentially, all of the options that are put forward in this long-term plan involve privatisation, the sell-off of public assets.
Basically, what they're proposing is to sell the family silver to be in a similar position fiscally as they already were, but ceding control to a foreign corporation. The long-term thing is the port should be moved.
A report commissioned by the Mayor and carried out by economist Craig Rennie has been handed to the Mayor's office. One News understands it discusses the economic viability of the proposal and raises numerous questions about how it would actually work. But that report hasn't been seen by councillors or the public.
Well, it might play in a negative light, but it also might say there's other options to look at, other funding models. Well, it makes sense to have an informed debate as they have the information.
Wayne Brown says he wanted the report to ensure councillors received independent advice, and he insists it will be made public once it's finalised and councillors have seen it.
It's not enough that councillors are just given this report in private. The Auckland public is entitled to see the analysis in this report, and the councillors deserve to know how the public is reacting and what the public thinks.
The Ratepayers Alliance released a courier poll today showing 60% support for the leasing plan if it made higher financial returns.
Ratepayers will get both a better return for owning the port, but be able to keep the land of the port, and in fact, one of the private operators, we understand, has offered to not only be more efficient, but actually shrink the footprint of the port, giving Aucklanders more of their waterfront.
The public have until Thursday to have their say, with councillors making a final decision by June. Katie Bradford, One News.
An appeal's been filed in the High Court against a major Whakaari White Island conviction. Andrew, Peter and James Battle own the island, and in March their company, Whakaari Management Limited, was found guilty of a health and safety charge, which it's appealing. The company was fined more than $1 million in order to pay reparations to victims of the 2019 eruption. Me utonu mai, stay with us. The unexpected sight among the Marlborough vines. How this robot is helping local winemakers.
Just scratching the surface with this technology.
Plus, fast food, French style, why hundreds of waiters are racing through the streets of Paris. Kia ora anō. A founding member of Gloria Vale has been shunned by the West Coast commune for speaking out against its leadership. But Sharon Reddy's still living on the property with her husband Clem. Their story features in the documentary Escaping Utopia, screening again tonight on TVNZ1. Ryan Boswell reports.
Devout Christians, Sharon and Clem Reddy are committed to Gloria Vale. In spite of the leadership wanting Sharon and I to be gone from the community, we still live there.
The couple challenged the leadership over conditions in the community and were evicted from their hostel.
We are uninvited guests living here in rather awkward circumstances.
An old aircraft hangar is now home about 200 metres away from the main buildings.
So there's the balcony and our room is at the far end.
I want to stay where I am because I believe that's actually God's will for me, to stay right where I am.
The documentary Escaping Utopia also highlighting decades of abuse at Gloriavale.
This would be one of the worst ages for sin, deception, evil, to trick people away from the truth.
The founder, hopeful Christian, a convicted sex offender, front and centre.
I don't believe that it was what they say it was.
We got told that it was people who had left that were bitter and angry and just wanted to destroy our faith, and they wanted to persecute Hopeful for being Christian, and so that's why he had gone to jail.
After serving 11 months of a 5-year prison sentence, he was released back into the community.
The Lord had heard our prayers and he had destroyed the intentions of the wicked men that had put Hopeful in prison. So, I can remember it being an exciting thing that he was back.
Hopeful Christian died in 2018. The current leadership refused to take part in the documentary. Ryan Boswell, One News.
There's a new type of worker roaming the vines in Marlborough. This robot, aided by artificial intelligence, has been used to detect a common disease. Our Nelson-based reporter Jessica Roden went to see how it works.
On the hunt for something no winemaker wants to see.
You can see that interveinal reddening there.
That's grapevine leaf roll disease. The virus won't kill the vines, but there's less fruit and it's poorer quality. At the moment, the virus is detected by staff walking up and down these long rows. When they spot the virus, they put these red tags onto the vines and write it down on a piece of paper.
For a trained assessor, it's easy to see. For a novice, it can be very difficult.
Enter this worker. It's remotely controlled and can go up to 9 kilometres an hour.
So with a machine like the Burrow, as a force multiplier, it can reduce the number of people needed to get a task done.
The cameras on board film the vines, and with the help of artificial intelligence, the disease is identified. It's a solution that's required a lot of heads.
And it's taken a couple of years we've been doing some testing in the field, and now we've brought in some of our partners that we work with.
A vast amount of data is collected. For example, the red dots here are vines with the disease.
And I feel like we're just scratching the surface with this technology. It's we're just looking at one vineyard here, but we've got 30 others that could really be could use this technology, and we're just one producer out of hundreds. So the scalability is amazing.
He says it will turn low-value jobs into high-value ones.
Obviously, that's going to come with a bit of training required for our staff, but I think the opportunity's there.
It's still a pilot.
My data set that I collect will be compared with what the robotics will identify, and ideally the two will align very closely.
If that happens, this machine would play a vital role in defending vineyards from disease. Jessica Roden, One News.
After more than 13 years, a famous French tradition is back. 200 waiters racing through the streets of Paris, carrying a tray with a croissant, a coffee and a glass of water. There's to be no running along the 2-kilometre route, and only one hand can be on the tray. The race started in 1914 but hasn't been held since 2011 due to a lack of sponsorship. The winner's getting tickets to the upcoming Olympic Games opening ceremony. He's breaking the rules, he's running. Hayley is here, and a regular white fern star with a bat could be doing some good things with the ball.
Yeah, well, that's what New Zealand hopes, Melissa. So just who could hold the key with the World Cup approaching later this year? Plus, the black foils stay out of the carnage on and off the water as backlash over the Christchurch SailGP event intensifies. And an NBL shot for the ages.
2 on the clock! Oh! Simply incredible!
What the game winner means for the Tasmania Jack Jumpers.
And it's already a shaky, very messy live shot in Wellington. A wind watch kicks in at midnight for you and Southern Wairarapa. What you can expect this week and into Easter weekend, coming up after sport.
The White Ferns have arrived in Wellington ahead of what could be a defining moment in the T20 series against England and possibly their year after keeping the series alive in Nelson. New Zealand are plotting to continue their momentum, and as Victor Waters explains, one of the world's best batters could be the key, but actually with the ball.
Swing and a miss! Stunned and New Zealand get home!
Getting home thanks to Susie Bates' bowling, not something White Ferns fans are used to.
Great stuff from Susie Bates, look at that!
But something they may see a lot more of heading towards this year's T20 World Cup in Bangladesh.
You know, she's been in a lot throughout her career and she's been working really hard behind the scenes on her bowling, and I think especially as we go to subcontinent conditions and extra spinners are going to become really important.
I didn't suggest myself, but I kind of felt like that may be where it headed, and I warmed up for about 4 overs just to get the shoulder going.
The 3-run win in Nelson, not only giving them a chance to level the series, but crucial practice for the pinnacle event in September.
You know, World Cup games often go down to the last over, and to have that experience and to come out on the right side is brilliant.
But one win does not a summer make. New Zealand have only won 7 of 17 ODIs and T20s since the start of last year. This victory a chance to finally prove they're up to it.
I think the main thing is that win can give this team a lot of belief. England are one of the best in the world and have been for a long time, so I think that we know if we play our style and our cricket, we can beat any team in the world.
Making that task tough, the English welcome back 4 frontline players from the Women's Premier League.
Just something else we have to prepare for, but I don't think it changes too much. If you kind of look at it for player, it will be a left-arm spinner coming in for a left-arm spinner and a batter coming in for a batter. I guess it's looking at it like that, but then also preparing as best we can.
Preparing to try and prove it's not a one-off win and give themselves and their fans some hope. Victor Waters, One News.
The fallout from the Christchurch leg of Sail GP continues. Some of the international crews have slammed elements of the Littleton course, one of which almost caused a catastrophic crash. Zion Dale has more.
Really, does a Sail GP race have a case for life or death?
Not to turn, but they've got to keep clear of Australia there on board Canada. Big contact.
The Australian boat hammering into a course marker, ultimately destroying it and losing 8 season points. A split-second decision by driver Tom Slingsby.
Honestly, I felt like I had a choice between going straight through Canada or impaling the mark, and the female athlete was right at the back of the boat, and I could see our bow was going to sort of hit her square on, so I avoided that by just turning hard into the mark.
The Littleton course layout raising concerns over whether athlete welfare is at risk to accommodate for the fast pace, fan-centric Sail GP product.
Yeah, it definitely needs to be reviewed, that's for sure. There's a few marks and pretty crucial points on the course where we're all firing in at Mark 1.
All it is just trying to get it too close to the spectators here, and if we had just stretched it out, pulled the finishing marks completely out of the way so that there was no obstructions for us to go around, that accident wouldn't have happened.
One News reached out to Sail GP, who couldn't comment other than to say the weekend's racing was an amazing spectacle.
Sounds like half of New Zealand standing up.
As for the Kiwis, who claimed their first win on home waters,
the boat got left.
You're a legend. You're a legend, mate. Thank you. Well done.
Thanks, mate.
Not spoiled by their international competitors' dismay at the Christchurch course.
They're there all day. Yeah, I don't know. Whenever you have a crash, you always end up putting the shoe on the other foot, but for us, we never problem with all day, and they didn't get moved.
The style of racing is so intense and on the edge that we take that risk.
The win huge for the Kiwis, tilted toppling the Aussies for their first overall title. Victory in Christchurch, giving them a 9-point series lead heading into the Bermuda stop in May. Zion Dale, One News.
The Tasmania Jack Jumpers are 1 win away from the NBL title after one of the most incredible game winners in memory in Game 3 of the finals series. Down 1 with just over 8 seconds remaining, all hope looked lost for Tasmania before Melbourne threw it away.
McVeigh, 2 on the clock! Oh no! What
the shot of his life! Tasmania win game 3!
I feel for them over there, to be quite honest with you, because I've lost games like that, just like that, when you think you have it and something like that happens. But our determination and grit was on display, and the fight was really, really good.
Tasmania can win the championship with victory in Game 4 on Thursday. He doesn't get any IndyCar points, but Scott McLaughlin's earned a healthy payday, claiming second in the $1 Million Exhibition Challenge in California. McLaughlin's finished behind Alex Palou, who dominated the weekend, made up of a series of races with 12 drivers, the Kiwi taking home $500,000 more than expected.
350 grand there for the second place, so you're buying dinner. 350? Really? I thought it was 250. Yeah, I'll buy you guys a beer, all right?
It's an extra 100K you weren't aware of.
Yeah, I better put some money up at the bar tonight.
The series proper doesn't resume for a month. Frightening audio from George Russell has emerged as he lay prone in the middle of the Australian Grand Prix track in Melbourne. It comes in a race won by the man looking for a new home next year, and where the dominant force in the sport was stopped in his tracks. Broden Nucky has more.
No, George Russell on the last lap of the race, and he's had a big contact with the wall.
Red flag, red flag, red flag. I'm in the middle of a track.
Okay.
Red flag, red flag.
Red flag, you got Stroll.
Red, 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 red. I'm in the middle. Red. Hell.
Frightened and a sitting duck, George Russell's Australian Grand Prix coming to a halt on the final lap, leaving him prone to disaster.
I'm okay, says George Russell, which is the best news.
I was half a second behind Fernando 100 metres before the corner, and then suddenly he came towards me extremely quick, and I was right in his gearbox.
Replay showing Fernando Alonso altering his driving style moments before. Alonso claiming he was struggling with his Aston Martin, but F1 officials calling it potentially dangerous driving worthy of a 20-second penalty, costing him 2 places in the race.
I mean, I knew that he was coming, but I cannot focus on the cars behind.
One Spaniard falling down the grid, another soaring to its summit.
It's victory for Carlos Sainz!
A timely win, to say the least. Carlos Sainz currently without a seat next season, replaced at Ferrari by Lewis Hamilton. His win also comes after missing the Saudi Grand Prix with appendicitis.
I'm extremely happy, and not only because of these last 2 weeks, but because of how difficult this year it's been so far.
Not so happy, the championship leader. A 10-race win streak burnt to a crisp for Max Verstappen.
The right rear's on fire, the right rear brake is on fire, it's completely melted the tyre. It's the end of Max Verstappen's Australian Grand Prix.
It's a matter of learning from it. We've had 2 years of no mechanical DNFs, which has been remarkable. The car, obviously, we've got all the bits back now, and going through the damage, and we'll go through and understand exactly what's caused it.
The Formula One season coming alive in more ways than one. Broden Nucky, One News.
Kiwi free skier Luca Harrington has claimed his first World Cup podium at the last FIS event of the season. High winds at the slopestyle World Cup in Switzerland meant the finals were cancelled, so it was Harrington's solid qualification run that saw him earn 3rd place.
Switch left side 1440 and the proper switch 720 boosting it. Absolutely boosting it.
Also in Switzerland, Finn Billis pulled off a world first, spinning a huge 360 off the Hollywood cliff in Verbier's backcountry to claim 3rd on the final stop on the World Tour. New Zealand's paracycling team is leaving the track World Championships with 11 medals after adding 3 more to the tally today. Devon Briggs and Nicole Murray have led the way, Murray with bronze in the scratch race, then both claiming silver in the Omnium.
Here's one fight for the Omnium there with Devon Briggs trying to get this world title on the Omnium. He's in the back for the scratch race. Devon Briggs got more points.
Briggs finished with gold, silver and bronze for the meet, as well as 2 world records, one in a non-medal event, with Murray taking home 2 silver and 2 bronze. So they beat their record of 10 medals last time, so they're going to be going into Paris looking very pretty.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
See you soon, Hayley. Stay with us. Erin has tomorrow's weather and a peek at the long weekend forecast.
No Moeano, welcome back. It was an inbox full of spectacular sunrise pictures today from up and down the country. Skies looking almost fiery, and it's often a signal of change on the way. And we do have quite a bumpy ride this week with a series of systems rolling in before coasting into a more settled weekend. So tonight, wind and rain work up the south, watches lift as they go. It all eases to showers through the morning tomorrow. On Wednesday and Thursday, we see more rain arrive from the south, and that white you're seeing is snow. But once we get to Good Friday, we see our good friend, the high pressure, approaching for the weekend. So it's a mixed bag day up top for all. Some sun, cloud, a few showers and a wind you'll notice. A fresh wind across much of the North Island, in fact, with 23 to 25 degrees. It's a similar story for your Tuesday, Tāmaki, Makaurau, Auckland. The wind picking up for a bit in the afternoon and a top of 23. More of the same for you, Kerikeri, Roa, Hamilton. The showers for the upper north ease in the evening, and it's 22 for you. Whakatane, you're the pick of the bunch here. Just a bit of passing cloud. Rotorua, showers clear, but everyone else will see them much of the day with 20 for Taupo. Any cloud or showers clear. Tauranga, the afternoon's looking mostly fine with that wind and a top of 24. Some high cloud about in the morning here, but the sun pokes through in the afternoon. Northwest is driving temperatures up. Look at that, 26, 27 in Gisborne and Hawke's Bay. And it's a bit of everything throughout your day in the west too, with 20 to 22 degrees. Strong winds in the capital, midnight tonight through to morning tea time tomorrow. Your watches in place, gusting 90 k's in exposed places. A bit of cloud in the afternoon and showers north of the harbour, and 21 is your high. Some rain or showers for the morning in the top of the south. The afternoon improves with 22 for Nelson and Kaikoura. It's a grey start with a possible shower or Tautahi Christchurch. Some fine breaks in your afternoon and a top of 18. It's a showery, windy morning in the west. It does fine up and just a bit of cloud cover in the east with 17 to 19 degrees. And the grey to come and go, Tahuna, Queenstown, and a high of 15 degrees. And almost all are in for showers in the lower south. Just the chance of a sprinkle in Oamaru, while the rain showers become rain in the evening for Milford Sound. It's a cool day, 12 for Rakiura, Stewart Island. And cloud to come and go through the morning, Ōtepoti, Dunedin. It's just a few. We'll see an afternoon sprinkle as well, and a top of 16. So Wednesday, scattered showers for most in the North Island. Gisborne and Hawke's Bay stay dry, and it's a windy one for the lower north, and rain that could be heavy at first in the south and west of Te Waipounamu, with snow to 700 metres and gale westerlies in exposed places. Thursday, it's a very similar story actually. Showers in the north, rain in the west and lower south. And just because we're heading into the Easter weekend, I'll chuck Friday on for you because it is good news. Showers clearing both islands, but of course the clear means cold nights. Daytime temperature's not too bad, but if you're camping, pack your thermals.
All right, good advice. Thanks so much, Erin.